Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and your local witch next door. And today I'm talking about the Eight of Cups. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. For monthly hangouts, tarot Q&As, individual readings, and behind-the-scenes peeks, you can join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family. If you're local to the greater Puget Sound area, check out my Let's Talk Tarot meetup group for the latest event postings. If you're not local to my area, you can join me for a virtual tarot card creation event on Friday, June 20th at 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I'll give you a list of recommended supplies, we'll meet online, and I'll walk you through the process of creating your own cards. The sign up is up, so you can click on that in the show notes or go to my website, camillesaunders.com/everydaytarot to find it. If you're interested in my free PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you at the beginning of this year, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. If you don't already know, I'm a sex and relationship therapist seeing clients virtually all over Washington State. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients. If you'd like to work with a therapist that doesn't judge you, is a little bit witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, camilleasaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, so we are in season 9 now, where I'm talking all about the Suit of Cups. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. Season 1, I talked tarot basics. Seasons 2 and 3, I went through the major arcana and the 4 suits. Season 4 was all about tarot and pop culture. Season 5 was about, I went through 13 common tarot spreads. Season 6, 7, and 8 were the Suit of Wands, Pentacles, and Swords. So we're rounding out the suits here, talking about the Suit of Cups in season 9. And if you want to hear an episode dedicated to an overview of the whole Suit of Cups, you can check out episode 38. And today I'm talking about the Eight of Cups. So images are symbols associated with this card. So if you pull out your own tarot deck, you can take a look, find your Eight of Cups in there. So some of the things I see here are sort of this like memories, grief, like loss. What else am I seeing on these different cards? Sort of like a scramble. So in the 3 decks I have pulled here with the Eight of Cups cards, I have the Sassarabita Tarot deck by Stasia Burrington. And this one, it depicts a person like naked that's like bending over, and all of their hair is like falling. They have long dark hair like upside down, and they are using like massive scissors to like cut off their hair. Right, I'm thinking about sort of loss or like cutting your losses, right? And just again, that sort of like grief, or I don't know, we think of like people cutting off or changing their hair as like after a breakup, like that's definitely coming through. And then instead of having like cups indicated on this card, there are 8 red stars, sort of like, I think they're stars or like crosses, that are sort of like cascading from the person's like neck through their hair and then like down towards the ground. The next deck I'm looking at is the Desert Illuminations Tarot by Lindsay D. Williams. And in this one we see, I'm looking here, so the cups are depicted as jugs in the suit. So this would be the 8 of jugs, and it says a horse-drawn carriage is galloping away in the distance across a mountainous desert scape. Many mystic whiskey bottles, which are like the jugs depicted in the card, are left behind as the full moon looms above. A prismatic cloud lights the way in the sky. Have you ever felt the need to escape your problems by running away instead of facing them? In order to leave the past behind and truly move forward, you must own up to your disappointments to release the emotional baggage. And that like releasing emotional baggage is definitely like what I get from the Sasser Vito tarot, where they're cutting off all their hair, right? Sort of releasing all of that stuff from maybe a prior relationship or situation. Um, right, and this card is calling us to face our problems. And then in the Goddess of Love Tarot deck by Gabriella Herstick and illustrated by Julia Popescu, we see again sort of like the back of a person. They're also like naked, and we see these 8 cups, like 4 kind of on either side of them. And again, sort of like cascading down, and we see red roses in the background, green leaves, and then for all of the cups cards in this deck, there is this like satellite image of like a hurricane where you see the like spiral like over the water or with the clouds and water, like that's kind of in the background. So there is this always sort of like tumultuous like tone to the card. So it says for the 8 of Cups is associated with Saturn in Pisces. It says one of the core concepts of Buddhism involves refuge. You take refuge or find stillness, support, and clarity in the practices, in the path, and in the community. There you find supportive experiences, relationships, or a place within yourself to be present in any experience. The release you're experiencing at the moment may be exactly what you need, but it can also be overwhelming. It's critical to honor the emotions presenting themselves, but be sure you're in a safe place to do so. This is where taking refuge comes in. Getting to higher ground, to a place of internal safety, is vital before you dive into the lessons or process what just happened. This is a time of listening and tuning in. It says you aren't abandoning anyone or anything by taking a step back and honoring the present moment. Okay, so yeah, there is this sort of like reflective aspect too, or sort of like looking back, right? Again, all of these cards have sort of like back facing like objects, right? We have like the horse-drawn carriage just kind of going in the Desert Illuminations deck. We have the hair being cut off in the Sacerdotale Tarot deck, and we have the literal back of a person in the Goddess of Love Tarot deck. So in the Library of Esoterica tarot book by Toshin, they talk about that the 8 of Cups is all about being at the end of your rope, breaking point, and painful realizations. The 8 of Cups encourages us to walk away from the past, start anew, and to move toward the better and brighter. Yeah, so kind of honoring that aspect of like moving on. In the Fearless Tarot book by Elliot Adam, How to Give a Positive Reading in Any Situation, they said the 8 of Cups is all about seeking your authentic self. It represents taking a journey within to the realm of your authentic feelings, right? Periodically, we have to do this to sort of go within ourselves, to hear spirit, reclaim strengths and abilities you forgot you possessed. Although the journey inward is of great value, it rarely feels easy to initiate. It's often accompanied by a period of depression, feeling crazy, or the sense that you've hit a patch of bad luck. The 8 of Cups reminds you that you've probably made a similar journey before, just prior to a deeper revelation about yourself. Your instincts will once again be your best guide. When you're quiet, do you hear the call of your authentic self? Do you periodically go through periods of confusion, depression, or unexplained bad luck? How has your life improved in the past as a result of listening to your heart? It says the person that's sometimes depicted on the card, where we see again kind of the back of them as they're walking or like going up a hill in the distance, is reminiscent of the hermit, right? Taking the journey alone, staff in their hand, returning to the realm of water, caves, and grottos. Often the person is depicted as walking out towards the sea, representing the pull of the deep unconscious feelings, right? Maybe those feelings were not acknowledged in their daily life, and they were kind of acting up in these strange ways. At first, you might think you're crazy, and then unlucky, and then we kind of realize that the authentic feelings were not being respected or acknowledged. We weren't being true to ourselves, and this was the cause of the unease. Yeah, which again, I think it's like this sort of complicated process. Like it's not comfortable to go through, right, a breakup or a moving on from something, a job, again, a relationship, moving, even when it's something that we know we need to do. In the Tarot and Astrology book by Karine Kenner, they talk about, again, the 8 of Cups is associated with Saturn and Pisces. It says, like a cosmic disciplinarian, Saturn has certain expectations. He demands order and control where he travels, and when Saturn rules a deacon, he puts a quick end to poorly planned ideas and flawed executions. In this case, the loose organization of the Eight of Cups wasn't compelling enough to win Saturn's approval, but Saturn didn't have to work too hard to convince the young man in the card to walk away either. Like a young Father Time, one of Saturn's secret identities, the man in the Eight of Cups has turned his back on a precarious arrangement of silver chalices. That's because Pisces is a mutable sign, easily swayed, readily persuaded to change course. It's reactive, not proactive. It's a watery sign, keyed to the fluid world of moods and emotions. It can go with the flow, but it's also easily diverted. It takes the shape of its container. Pisces' ruling planet is Neptune, which corresponds to the Hanged Man card. Other dreams and visions will rise to take the place of this one. It says the Golden Dawn designers of this card called Saturn in Pisces the Lord of Abandoned Success because it illustrates the act of deserting a dream. In a tarot reading, the Eight of Cups often represents regret, abandonment, or a spiritual quest for completion and fulfillment. So again, kind of like the Hermit, where the Hermit idea is about going into isolation, right? Often going into nature, removing yourself from society to learn and reflect on yourself, right? To kind of have space and time to understand yourself, and then coming back into a society, integrating and finding ways to actually bring those lessons back into kind of day-to-day life. Like it's not just about going away forever and hermiting. It's also about like integration. Um, Lastly, in the Tarot for Change book by Jessica Dorr, I like that she talks about that there is this, like moving away or feeling like we're stuck in situations. She says, by and large, people who know that they will be okay no matter what happens are more willing to walk away when walking away is called for. They know they'll be okay because they have skills for coping, a kind of psychic insurance to cover the incidentals of moving freely through life rather than staying stuck in the driveway when you're supposed to be somewhere. The Eight of Cups depicts an image of a person walking away from 8 shining cups, right? This card's often interpreted as a difficult departure, walking away that requires faith, intuition, and also what is not visible. The fact that this person has the ability to cope with whatever it takes to walk while carrying the weight of losing the 8 cups they've left behind. Right? Sometimes when you're reading, if you ever read cards for other people or even for yourself, right? Sometimes the question we're asking is like, should I stay or go? Like some choice, right? And it says that through the years, I've noticed there are very few people for whom intellectual awareness that they should leave is enough to convince them they should leave, right? Sometimes we need that we have to develop the skill of kind of making that choice, right? Even when it's hard to do, even when it feels like logically I should do it, the emotion attached to it is like very challenging to work with. It says the cups in this card suggest that in order to complete the difficult task of walking away, we need to develop a level of skill in working with our emotions, right? Again, cups, a water sign, are all about emotions. Healthy coping skills are like a protective talisman or charm that you can draw from your back pocket in the moment when it becomes necessary to break your own heart, which I think honestly is how like this card feels a lot of the time. It can feel like this heart breaking, this like pulling apart of a thing that you thought would be true and no longer feels true or attainable, or like the illusion has dropped from it. But in the same way that, again, we're sort of like turning away from what we had or what we thought it was going to be and moving down a new path or in a new direction and turning our back, like allowing ourselves to fully turn our back on the thing we thought it was going to be, right, allows us to see new things as we go forward, which is often, again, also what is about that like journey is like finding the new. So let's dive in and see what their cards have to say today on this topic. I'm pulling from the Citadel, a Fantasy Oracle by Fen Inkwright. Wow, the card flew out. It is the card I pulled last time, so I'm going to give it a quick shuffle and we'll see if it still falls out. or if there's anything else we need to know. But yeah, I'm thinking about, right, how do we make the hard choices to move forward? How do we take the scary step, right, of sort of, again, like turning our back often on like stability or what we thought things were going to be like, and turning into, right, again, a new business, a new venture, a new relationship, a relationship to self that feels new and different. While even when we don't feel like confident about it. I pulled the Dancer, all about self-expression and strength. Okay, well, that's a good sign, I think. Right? If we think about just like our idea about a dancer, right? It is a lot about like finding your own strength and also like um, the gracefulness that dance looks like, right? It looks, sometimes people make it look really easy, and that's like a beautiful part of it. And, right, it's a very hard thing to do, especially if you're going to be like a professional dancer. It says a tambourine shivers, filling the air with the sound of silver, and silks carve shapes out of the air as the dancer leaps and spins. Whatever they have left behind to come to the citadel, that is the past. And this is the now. They bring only themselves into the dance, unashamed to let the world see them for who they truly are. It's time to stop worrying about what the world thinks of you and embrace the parts of yourself that you've been trying to make more palatable to others. Self-acceptance comes with maturity and a recognition of your own capability, a revelation that is stronger for having come through the period of doubt. It's time to free yourself from your past and embrace yourself for you. You have a strength and compassion within you that you haven't even realized yet. All right, so links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. And you can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com, with any thoughts, questions, musings, anything you liked, didn't like about the podcast. I would like to hear it all. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.